We managed to get that set up quite quickly. So they've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I think most of them are quite liking it. So yeah, we need to now start working on the next stage, which is what we're going to do when things go back to whatever normal is going to be.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you for joining us. And Jo, how about you? How are things your end?
Yeah, very similar to Tina. My staff have been furloughed for several weeks now, and it's just my management team, so one person per shop that is working. I have got 3 shops in Lanarkshire, so yeah, they're obviously looking after customers with regards to payments, balance payments, changing customers' holidays over, cancellations, refunds when we can do them. So yeah, the guys that are doing it are really, really busy, along with myself. And the biggest problem, we'll come over this, but the biggest issue we've got is the furlough scheme doesn't seem to be working, because we've got a duty of care to our customers, and my girls are sitting at home wanting to work, wanting to help their customers. We've not got any new bookings more or less coming in. There's 1 or 2, but we've not got any profit coming in. So it's been a bit of a nightmare, because if they could actually do a bit of work, we probably would stimulate a bit more business. But I'm a small shop, 3 shops. I can't afford to pay everybody's salaries just now to get them to work, so we're in a bit of a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back onto the furloughing scheme in a minute. Simon, how about you? How are things your end?
Well, I have 20 empty shops in South Wales at the moment, 85 staff on furlough, and a crisis team of 15, which are managing our clients from their homes. We, for the first month, had a crisis team of predominantly managers. I didn't consider that to be particularly fair, so after 4 weeks of hell on the phones, we switched over to a B team of 15. And of course, we now are rereading the furlough legislation, have put the 70 or 80 staff that have been barbecuing and watching Netflix into some training modules. So they're having a great time learning about all the supplier products that we've got to play with.
Brilliant. And have they, been quite thirsty for that knowledge, really, to be kind of spending their time usefully during furlough?
Well, yes. Let's be honest, we don't have time to do a lot of the training courses in a normal working week. So this is a grand opportunity for us to brush up on our sales techniques, our product knowledge, and work with our partners for future relationships. Yeah,
brilliant. We were talking yesterday, and you guys said that the portal for actually sorting out the payment of your furloughed workers has just gone live. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Has that been fairly straightforward for you all? Have you all managed to get through?
I managed to get through yesterday morning, fairly early on, and it took probably about an hour. And I have my claim submitted and been accepted. We haven't had the money yet, but if it comes through this week, then that would be great.
Okay, great. And how about you, Jo? Have you managed to do that?
We've done it this morning, so just waiting to hear back. But we have submitted it, so just hoping that no news is good news, as I say.
Yeah, see what happens.
If you're anything, we've obviously done it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simon, I suppose it's quite interesting for you, because I think, you told us yesterday that you've actually managed to bring some staff back from furlough. Has that been quite a complicated thing to do, or is it quite straightforward to be a bit flexible with the system?
Furlough is effectively a new terminology for laid off. We haven't got to work for you, so you're laid off. So as long as we record all the right dates and that we're very careful that we don't break any protocols, there's no real issue with bringing people back and sharing the workload. I think the present guidelines are you have to be furloughed for at least 3 weeks in order to avail of the retention scheme. So we've made it 4 weeks to play it safe. So once someone's done 4 weeks service, we can release them back into to training mode or furloughed, and then bring in some fresh blood to take the flak.
Okay. And when will these sort of virtual travel agencies, as you've called them, when will they start going live, or are they already?
Well, we're going live today with that product, and we've noticed that there's some resilience in the luxury, long haul, and believe it or not, cruise markets. So I've got my social media manager who's queuing appointments to individual store locations, and as and when demand increases, we'll bring people out of furlough into video sales duty. So very much the same one-to-one service that we offer in store. We're much a community-based company. We'll bring into people's homes. There's been some pitfalls with that. We've had to make sure that we're recording the content so that if a customer decides to get amorous or angry, that we're pointing out to them that they're being recorded. And of course, we need to protect staff. So a couple of pitfalls, but I think that the benefits outweigh the negatives.
Yeah. And have you found that clients, who maybe traditionally were a little bit technophobic, perhaps, sort of having to adapt quite quickly to these new ways of, buying their shopping online and everything, are they transitioning quite well to find
They're all shopping online. They're all FaceTiming their friends and family, and it's becoming the new norm. My parents were, I constantly used to speak to their nostrils and their ears when I would FaceTime them. Everybody's grabbed it now, and I think that people are comfortable with it as well, about seeing each other's faces, and it's definitely a communications method that we'll be using much more than telephones in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Joe and Tina? Is there anything in that you're kind of looking at perhaps going forward?
Yeah, probably just now my girls, obviously, that aren't working are very much, still putting things about holidays on their own Facebook pages, just to entice people. And I have started again putting some deals back onto Facebook because we have had quite a few different inquiries. So obviously I'm doing that myself. So yeah, we are seeing quite a few people now. I think people are now getting used to being at home. They are getting bored at looking at each other. They're getting bored at looking at the television. So they are looking at what they're going to do when this is all over. So we have seen quite a bit of a surge in more inquiries coming through. So I will have to probably look at, do I take, like Simon's doing, some of the other girls off furlough to hopefully look after customers that are wanting to book for later this year and next year.
Yeah, and most of those queries coming through, are there many for the kind of later this year or mostly next year?
There's people coming through. We've had quite a bit for like the likes of October and winter, but the main ones are for summer 2021. So yeah, we are seeing quite a bit of that. We're seeing quite a bit of families who are looking to go together. So like grandparents and their kids and their kids. So we've seen quite a bit of that, some interest in that kind of thing. But yeah, people are still worried. They don't know what to do. They don't know whether to book just now or to leave it. We are very much pushing, get booked, get tied in just now to a holiday for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tina, would you say that you're sort of through the biggest chunk now of kind of rebookings and things, or is that still a really big priority every day?
I think as time moves on, we just move on another 2 weeks. So we're doing 2 weeks at a time. It's 2 weeks of people paying their balances. It's those people that you have to contact each one and say, what do you want to do? You've got a choice. And hopefully the majority, I think, are trying to book for next year, or move their booking along slightly. But it's just, they don't know, we don't know. It's a very difficult situation in general, isn't it? It's difficult to advise people when you don't actually know the answers to all of their questions. But obviously the girls are doing their best. And there are new inquiries coming in, which surprised me at the beginning of the week, but we are having new inquiries, not loads and loads by any means, but there are new inquiries coming through.
And have you seen any kind of increase on last week with that, or is it too early to say, really?
It's probably a bit early to say because I think they're just a bit hit and miss, but a phone round at the beginning of the week did say that there were a couple, they'd almost forgotten how to do a new inquiry because they were so busy dealing with all the other rubbish that's going on, but they were quite excited at the prospect, so it's good. Okay, great. And Joe, I wanted to speak to you a little bit about, obviously we've got a bit of a regional spread here with Simon in Wales and Joe up in Scotland, Tina in the middle of England, Midlands. I was just wondering, Joe, I think we spoke earlier about a bit of a kind of
discrepancy really with what's available to Scottish businesses and businesses in England. Are you okay to talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, obviously, the Scottish Government decided to go completely different to everybody else with regards to the grant scheme, and we had a major issue that we picked up on really quickly up here. The SPAA really championed this and pushed it out, and obviously lobbied with regards to each business in Scotland. We're only getting one grant depending on your rateable value. So if you had a business with several shops, you were only getting 125,000 if one of these shops were over £18,000 to £50,000 in rateable value. So that obviously caused a massive issue for a lot of our larger retailers up here. And the three criteria, you had to be either in leisure, you had to be in retail, or you had to be in hospitality. So they were the three criteria they put on it as well. The next loan was for small businesses who had a rateable value up to 15,000, but to get that you had to be in receipt of the small business rates relief scheme, right? So there was lots of businesses out there who were getting the rates relief scheme, so weren't paying any rates, and are actually getting the £10,000. But there was companies who had maybe 2 or 3 shops, or who fitted in the £15,000 to £17,000 of rateable value, who weren't getting anything, and I fell into that. So I've got 3 shops on the high street where I thought, because I had to aggregate my rates whenever I was looking to get this small business rates relief a few years ago, and I fell over the threshold, so I didn't get it. So I pay rates, but I wasn't getting any grant. So obviously we've lobbied about that. They have came in and changed, and now in Scotland you get either 25 for your first property, or 110 if you're in any of the 2 categories, and the other ones get 75%. So again, it's the inequality of the Scottish scheme compared to what everybody else has got. It's not correct, it's not right. But I still fall through the threshold where I don't get anything because I'm not in receipt of the small business rates relief, so I'm still fighting. So it has been a bit of a nightmare, but you know, you have to kind of sit back at times and look and go, right, I know this is wrong. Somebody will eventually realise it's wrong and see the sense that I'm a small business, I need help as well. And lots of other people out there are in the same boat as me. But you can't let it kind of really take over your whole life. You have to look at the other things that are there, and you know, touch wood, I'm very lucky I've not got anybody just now that have got, you know, coronavirus, and there's people losing family and friends, and I just keep kind of thinking about that and saying, right, let's move on. But it is wrong. The Scottish Government haven't dealt it well, and the councils that are giving it out they're going by the guidelines. The guidelines are very unclear. They're very complicated. So yeah, it's not been great for us up here, to be honest with you, but I'm sure we'll get it sorted.
Yeah, how are you going about that? You say you've been writing to Nicola Sturgeon herself.
Oh, I've wrote about 3 letters to her now. We've wrote letters to nearly every MSP, and in fairness, the MSPs are behind us here. You know, we've had some great support from like Jackson Carroll from the Conservative Party. He has been really lobbying about it as soon as he discovered it. So we have had some really good support, but there is still the bit that I'm falling into, and also the bit that 75%, why are we not getting 100% like everybody else?
Yeah.
Because, you know, it won't go, you know, Simon has already mentioned that, the amount of shops you've got, the amount of things you have to pay with regards to rent, bills, you know, that money won't be there for long if this carries on long. So we do need to really get it sorted.
I think you've got a very good point there. The between £10,000 and £25,000 is not going to last very long. We've still got to pay our rents, rates, bills, phone bills, electricity, light, heat, ABDA bonding, card charges, bank fees, all of that stuff. 25k is not going to last long. And we definitely need to be lobbying ABDA to be lobbying the government to come up with a better solution for the industry.
And also, obviously, there's talk about perhaps the furlough scheme being extended so you can furlough your staff for longer. But in theory, I think it ends in June at the moment, is it, as it stands? So, you know, that's not too long away. And obviously, when that happens, you know, that does then make a huge difference again to cash flow, doesn't it?
I think, as Joanne sorry, as Joanne said earlier, it's all very well if you can furlough your staff. If you're a straightforward retail organisation, then you've actually got no work for them to do. We currently have quite a lot of work for the teams to do. They're not going to be just sat there manning a phone. They really do have a lot of work to do. And if we decided just to furlough everybody and for that not to happen, then who would do that? Our clients still need looking after, they need help, they need assistance, they need, okay, we've got away from, most people are actually home now, but actually they want to know what's going to happen with their holiday, what's going to happen with their money. Are they going to get a refund? Can they go in September? Can they go in January? There's lots and lots of things for them, questions for them to be answering. So it's not just as simple as just furloughing everybody and hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whilst we've got no flights going anywhere, no country ready to receive a client, we really don't know when our first departures are going to be that we can sell. So government really needs to address, they've already addressed the internal tourism industry. They now need to look at the outbound tourism industry.
In what way do you mean they've addressed the inbound or internal?
Well, the incoming tour organisations within the UK, the tourism minister gave a budget of, it's only sort of £1.5 million, but it enabled the tourist office or incoming tour operators to employ 2 members of staff up to £2,500 per month and an additional £5,000 in office running costs. So it's up to £10,000 per branch offering to service crucial pipeline bookings, reservations, refunds, cancellations, etc. So that's already happening within our domestic tourism environment. We need to see it happening within the global travel agency environment. And we've all seen the directive that ABTA has to try and change the package travel regulations. And that's well and good and will help the industry from an operator perspective and then ultimately in a agency perspective. But ABTA is missing a point on how our retail travel agencies are going to weather the post Corona storm, or more specifically the post furlough scheme. When the furlough scheme runs out, we're either announcing mass redundancies or we need a solution, because we will not be selling holidays that will be coming to fruition and paying commission until a lot later than the 14th of June.
What would you perhaps hope for in that regard, Simon, from ABTA or from the government? What would you like to see?
I'd like to see access to lending. We've run our financial models and we know that Corona is going to cost Tailor Made Travel £1 million. That's the long and the short of it, if we discount out commissions between now and November. And of course the government has announced lending schemes, but these lending schemes come with a bit of a sting in the tail, and that is that they require 20% security. So I'm now faced with giving £200,000 of personal security. And I think that the government should be changing those levels of security to perhaps 5%, because there's some very high risks. We don't know whether or not COVID is going to return in form of 20. We really don't know. And there's a lot of uncertainty where our destinations are concerned. So I'm blindly borrowing £1 million at the moment and underwriting 20% of that in order to retain my team and to keep the plate spinning. But I think government needs to look at these lending schemes and guarantee to cover a larger proportion than 80%.
Do you feel perhaps that ABTA is a little bit too focused on the sort of PTR point in terms of what it's working on?
I joke and sometimes call them the Association of British Tour Operators, but I know ultimately I think that the models that retailers are adopting now need to be very closely looked at by ABTA, and the viability of our business models with such uncertainty. We really need some solutions, and we need ABTA to be looking for those solutions for us.
If you look at what Southern Ireland have adopted, I don't know if you are aware of that, but in Southern Ireland, they are actually paying the staff 70% of their salary.
Fantastic.
To work. Now, why have we not got that? Why was that not introduced in the UK for us, for the travel, but the travel agents, you know, home workers, retail high street agents, whatever? you know, we still have to work, but currently the ones that are left to hold the fort are inundated. They're working harder than they ever did. If you're like myself and probably you guys who are a director of the company who take dividends, we're getting no money. So I'm getting no pay now, and I'm working probably, you know, from 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes to 10, 11 at night for nothing. And it's totally unfair. It is totally unfair. And I do agree with what we're saying. You know, it's fine just now, we've got furlough and we're treading water just now and seeing what's going on. But when we go back into our shops, will we be able to afford to keep our staff and have them all there? I don't think so, unless we get, as Simon said, funding from banks, grants, which doesn't look like I'm going to get, but anyway. But we do need to look at ways of helping us when we get back to pay our people, to pay our people's salary, to keep our staff. We, you know, two issues here. Our issues are our customers, which, you know, we have got a duty care to our customers and we want to help them. We want to be there to service them, but we have also got a responsibility to our teams, to the people that work for us who are passionate about this industry, and we need some help, and we need people like ABTA, like the SPAA as well, and we are lobbying about it, to get some help other than just furlough. We really do need some help.
Okay. Jo, I suppose on that point, obviously the whole idea of furlough is that, you know, not as many people are required, but as you say, that's not quite the same with travel. I mean, obviously you all must employ great people who I'm sure are very generous and things with their time, but are you starting to detect any kind of slight, you know, people feeling it is a little bit unfair if, you know, those in the office are actually having all the work piled onto them because there's not really much choice?
They are, you know, it's, you know, we're very much like, you know, Tina and Simon, we're community travel agents. We are in small villages, small towns. I'm in very much in working class areas where our shops are a bit of a drop-in centre, if I'm being honest. I joke about it because we have customers come in for a bit of banter, and that's what they say, a coffee and a bit of banter. So my girls are missing that. I'm missing that. That's why, you know, I'm very much in the shops all the time, because that's where I've been born and bred, and, you know, over 30 years in travel, and, you know, I know how important that is, and I just feel that they're missing that side of it. They're at home, they want to help, they can't help, and the girls that are helping me out just now, they're getting worn out, you know, they really are getting worn out, and it's really, really difficult. It is really difficult for everybody, and I don't think people are saying, oh God, I've got 3 months off. You get fed up. Nobody's wanting to be sitting at home doing nothing. There's only so many films you can watch on Netflix, and, you know, you want to be able to still do the job that you love to do. We wouldn't be in travel if we didn't love the industry, and we all love the industry, and that's apparent. So, you know, we need some help to try and get out there and be able to get these guys doing some sort of work from home with some government funding and some help from the government.
And sorry, you mentioned the SPAA is lobbying on it as well. Is that something that you guys have been?
Yep, we have from day one. We as soon as the furlough got announced, we were delighted that it was announced. We were happy that the government was looking at the industries and every retail industry. But once you looked into it, you know, we do not fall into that category that we can just, you know, mothball our shops and walk away. We can't do it. We're not a coffee shop. You know, we have got a duty of care to our customers, and, you know, we need to look after them, and we can't do that by just saying, right, okay, I'm closing down. You know, and for 1 or 2 people to try and carry on and keep the business going, we're really, really struggling now. My girls that are helping me, we're all really struggling.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Just a quick note on, I saw actually, Simon, already that Tailor Made Travel's posted this letter from the Chief Executive of ABTA, Mark Tanzer, which was released, I think it's an open letter published in the national press today. Do you think that's going to be helpful? It's kind of this idea of Mark Tanzer setting out the kind of argument around refunds, really, and trying to, I suppose, spell it out to consumers as to what the problem is.
Exactly. So Mark has said, we can't afford to refund you as an industry. Can you please bear with us? And that does help. My teams are listening to people screaming for refunds from as far back as December from cancelled Princess sailings, for example. And it's quite long in the tooth listening to people ringing or emailing all day long, chasing that refund. So it does help that ABTA sent out that letter. We shared it on our social media, and we're all in the same boat. So, a useful act by Mark there, and it goes some way to sort of at least informing clients that we're not telling them porkies when we're saying you can't have your refund yet.
Yeah, and obviously it's too early to say the reaction to that specific letter, but on the whole, have you found clients fairly understanding with regards to the impact on travel businesses, or is it a mixed bag?
The first 4 to 6 weeks, clients have been predominantly sympathetic and understanding. Patience is running a bit thinner now, and I'm seeing emails which are saying, I really need that money. I've lost my job. I'm not covered. I'm self-employed, and I've got to wait till June for my next income. So it's a very tricky situation, and we have to handle it as personally as we can. And in some instances, even take decisions to refund ourselves where a very important or long-standing client is concerned.
Oh, in terms of even if you haven't got the money back from the supplier?
Indeed.
Are any refunds coming through kind of in drips and drabs from airlines and hotels?
Yeah, the refunds are coming through, but they're not coming through thick and fast, not like the cancellations are coming through.
And are there any that are still sort of from any suppliers that you're just not really getting an answer either way on? Is that sometimes the frustration that they're not saying we're not going to give you a refund, but they're also not giving it?
I think everybody's treading water. They're all waiting for a ruling on the PTR changes, and until then, making up their own rules or saying, ask us in a week, ask us in 10 days, or here's a voucher, ask for a refund in, is it January 21 now, the latest piece of paper I've seen?
There's also been a bit of concern, I think, around chargebacks and the idea that agents might be faced with some of these themselves. Have any of you experienced that yet at all? Anyone trying to just take the money straight back?
So far, so good. We've not had a client threaten a chargeback. And most of the consortia have issued guidelines on how to defend chargebacks. So it's not at the tip of my concerns. It's going to create a wholly new set of administration in terms of defending them. But I'm not overly concerned about the financial ramifications of chargeback, because in most instances we should be able to flip that onto our suppliers.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that we were concerned about initially, but I think having taken, as Simon said, guidance from the consortia, I think that we should be able to defend them. So as he said, it is just a case of an administrative process, and obviously being out of pocket, because they do just take the money straight from you. So whilst it's being defended, you would be out of pocket, which is fine for a normal size booking. It's when it's the bigger bookings that somebody has dug their heels in over not getting a refund. But I think, as plenty of others have said throughout all of this, we will certainly know at the end of this who our better suppliers are, those who've supported us throughout, and those who have dug their heels in and been more difficult to either get hold of or get a decision out of. Unfortunately, are probably not going to be top of the list for very long.
Is there anyone, I won't ask you the nasty version, but is there anyone who springs to mind who has been particularly good at to deal with recently, supplier wise?
I think I have to take my hat off to Jet2. I will be honest. I think the volume that Jet2 actually do out of the UK and the way they've supported us as agents with regards to how easy it is to move customers over. Even on their like Facebook chat pages, you see people putting stuff on. The guys are on there straight away answering. They're sending out guidelines all the time. They're in touch with you. Yeah. With the exception of what happened at the start with regards to a bit of a leak going on, and as usual, travel gossip are jumping all over it and saying how come people know this before us. But you've got to look at the bigger picture here as to why that was maybe released before it came to the trade. And I think that's where sometimes I could scream when I read some of the things that I see, and I understand the rationale behind what happened there. And they have been excellent to deal with. I can't, and we do a lot of volume for Jet2 holidays, and the support that we're getting from them has been excellent. I've got to say, we have had no issues at all. Yeah, you might have to wait a wee bit longer if you do have to speak to them, but nowhere near what you're waiting for some companies. You know, you're waiting 4 or 5 hours for some people to try and get them on the phone.
Okay, great. So, I mean, are you guys all keeping okay? you know, it sounds like it's kind of a very, very tough time, of course, but, you know, are you all optimistic? I suppose it'd be good to kind of ask you a little bit about what you might, you know, perhaps expect for the, you know, the couple of weeks ahead. Are you expecting any big changes, any new challenges or opportunities at all to come about?
My Sauvignon Blanc consumption has gone up by about 400%, so I'm okay.
So winemakers, right, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing just fine. For me, it's all about future processes and how are we going to, as a public, start traveling again. Mm-hmm. Interesting to see Emirates' policy on testing people before getting on a flight. Mm. I think that's a very interesting strategy, and we need to start thinking shortly about which destinations are going to be ready for us, what policies are going to be in situ from hotels. I think that we're going to have to observe the EU on what guidelines they issue to member states, because you can bet your bottom dollar that if we don't adhere to them, we won't be able to travel into the EU. Mm-hmm. So it's all eyes now on processes for travel, proposals for keeping distancing in the limelight as we travel, and how travel is going to change. It's interesting that you can still book on the BA website a flight to Dubai leaving in 10 days' time and a room at Atlantis. Mm-hmm. So it is possible to travel, and it's possible to do that imminently. We break a few rules, but we will all start to think about how and where we're going to send clients, where they're going to be safe, and they're going to be able to come home as well. So it's all about the future processes for me, and how we're going to kickstart the industry back into life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How about you, Tina? Any specific kind of predictions or hopes for the immediate future?
I think very much the same. We can't do anything until there are some holidays there for us to start selling. So once people can start travelling again, I think we will have all learnt lessons from this, and will probably be in a much stronger position when it's all over, as long as people can start travelling again, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jo, are you hopeful? Obviously you're campaigning a lot in terms of the kind of inequality there that we're getting between Scotland and England, and Wales. Well, although Wales seems to be doing okay.
We're all right.
Are you hopeful of, you know, further changes in that regard, maybe closing that 75% gap? Or
I genuinely do think that we will get some sort of change. I just think there's so much going on just now, isn't there? And you know, we're very passionate about our industry, so loads of other industries out there that are feeling, you know, this kind of thing. I've got a lot of friends that are in the licensing trade, and they're having issues as well. You know, so I do think we will get it sorted, but we just need some of this getting sorted quite quickly, because obviously if you're getting nothing through, what do I see in the future? I think it'll be a very different industry. I think, as we've all said, we will choose very carefully who our trade partners are. I think we will see probably a difference with regards to who's out there supporting us. I feel that the shops, we will change how we work. I will look at how I work. You know, I personally go to the shops all the time. I probably will work from home a wee bit more compared to what I usually do, because I can get quite a lot done at home, and my girls will be delighted that I'm not doing the VAT return and things like that when I'm in the shop, because I'm a nightmare. So yeah, I probably will look at how I adapt to working. But I do think it'll come back, and I do feel that we need to really be prepared for it. And it is about making some choices, and out there lobbying, and out there like screaming about things like water rates and water bills that we're getting up in Scotland just now, and you know, trying to negotiate with landlords, and you know, that's all the work that's going on behind the scene, and we'll carry on doing that. But you know, I do think the travel industry, we're a resilient lot, and it'll come back. But we just need to be ready for it coming back.
And survive in the meantime.
And survive. And it's survival mode now, isn't it? And it is, you know, I'm very lucky. My background is very much coming from multiples where we couldn't spend anything anyway, so we do not spend a lot. So I do keep tight reins on my business. So, you know, I know I'll be all right. Might be a bit different to what it's been in the past, but you know, we will be fine. And the big thing is about working together and all helping each other, and things like this is working really well. Advantage and all the other consortia have all been doing really good stuff with their agents, you know, to keep you, you know, informed about what you should be getting, informed of what, you know, action you should be taking to survive. So, you know, I do feel that when we come back, it'll be back with a lot of business, hopefully. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, well, thank you so much, guys. We've I could talk to you all forever, but we've already been live for 40 minutes, and it would have been longer, obviously, if we'd gone live at 11. But thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us, and we hope to see you again on another Agent Matters panel soon.
Anytime.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.